A very solemn hello and welcome to Locked On Sharks, your premier podcast for your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, and Kyle is off doing Kyle things tonight. So I am joined by Locked On Canadiens host uh, Laura, who's going to ridicule and mock me for the next 20 minutes. Laura, how are you doing?
I'm good, and I'm so happy the tables are turned. For all of your listeners who don't know this, you and Kyle and the Sharks fan base as a whole has been bullying me for weeks now because I dared to start some things, and I said that Cole Caufield would win the Calder, and you argued that it would be William Eklund, and now it looks like it will be neither of them
It's gonna
based
be
based on
yes.
their totals right now.
How many points does Caulfield have so far?
I want to say one. He is playing well though, and I will say the same thing about Eklund. He's playing like watching them on the ice is really, really beautiful. Sharks fans might not have noticed that in tonight's game, but Cole Caulfield has been doing some great things, very fast, being in the right position, all of that. But right now, if you look at the score sheet, which as we know, the voters will look at the score sheet,
Yep.
it's not looking that great for either guy yet. Yet.
No, we'll get into that. But first, let's go ahead and do the fun graphic thing now.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So the Sharks lost 4-0, basically because Jake Allen decided he wanted to be reincarnated Patrick Waugh and Carey Price. What's up with that, Laura?
Well, he had a bad game in Seattle 2 nights ago. He has been playing well despite the lack of wins. He's been playing really well all season. He just didn't have the W's because the team could not score. He's got a lot on his shoulders right now with Carey Price being away from the team. He's taken it on, and they've been very careful about his practices and the amount of time that they make him work and all of that. But they very clearly are relying on him almost 100%. And I think the last game he had a rough game. There were a couple of goals at the beginning that kind of took the Canadiens out of the game. And he probably saw that and wanted to get it back. So he was very, very aggressive tonight. He doesn't make it look as pretty as Carey Price does, but he was very much on top of his game. He was having trouble with his puck tracking earlier. It seems to be getting better and better as time goes on. But it really is a situation where he woke up and he was like, I'm going to drag this team to a win if it kills me. and it almost, I mean, he made 45 saves tonight, and some of those Sharks chances were great. The expected goals were apparently 3.5 for the Sharks, and they didn't score any of them. So I think that's a pretty big indicator. And just the way that he played, I think he was able to see, mostly because the defensemen just weren't there. He was able to see everything. And this is not the Jake Allen we expect all of the time, but this is a much better Jake Allen than we saw 2 nights ago, and this is something that he is capable of doing. Maybe not to a shutout extent every night, but he is capable of being a good goaltender in stretches. I just worry from a Canadian's perspective. I just worry that they might be overworking him. And so I do think it's time for the Canadiens to call up maybe Michael McNiven and give him a shot, or Caden Premor give him a shot. They don't seem to have that much faith in Montembeault right now, which doesn't really matter. We're expecting Carey Price to come back in a few weeks anyway, unless we hear something different. But I do think that he's been carrying a really heavy load, and I'm very, very happy for him that he was able to get a shutout, even though it was at the expense of a team that really did deserve the win.
Yeah, and on the other side, like Aiden Hill played okay. I think that second goal, he would have wanted back, from Romanov, but like he played okay. He made some big saves, especially like early on. There was like Hoffman had a nice chance, I think, early on too. But yeah, it's just sometimes like the Sharks, they played really well. Like, I think in the first period, both teams were kind of still trying to figure out their, each other out, and then there were stretches where I thought the Sharks were the better team, and especially in that third period when they were just all gas. And, sometimes you just run into that goalie who just stands on their head, and you have to tip your cap to a guy who makes 45 saves in a night. And especially when there's, he stops Eklund on a nice, Eklund makes a beautiful play, like dangle, and then makes a nice shot. Like Darlene has a great shot. And there's just a bajillion chances where Jake Allen was just standing on his head tonight, and that happens sometimes. So I know Sharks fans are already like, we suck, the season's over, give up and everything like that, but like, you run into hot goalies all the time. It happens.
Yeah, and if you look at the underlying numbers, it wasn't just stretches that the Sharks played better. They were the better team over the course of the whole game. And it's exactly like you said, they do run into a hot goalie. Also, Nick Bonino got robbed a couple of times.
Yeah, Nick Bonino, he had that tip, and then the play after, where he's trying to jam it home. Couture gets, denied at the front. Like, it happened. Eklund has a puck just bounce off a stick, and he's wide open. Yeah, it just happens. It's just not your night that night. So
yeah, and you don't get the bounces sometimes, and that's something that's happened to the Canadiens basically every game this season, except the 2 wins that they've had. Is they didn't get the bounces a lot of times when they had prime scoring opportunities. But I did think overall, I did like what I saw from the Sharks. I think we talked about it when Kyle was guesting on our show when they were playing in Montreal. The Sharks are an exciting team in a way that I did not expect. They have young players that are playing a lot more than I expected. They're fun to watch. They're exciting to watch. But at the same time, the Canadiens that we saw tonight were the Canadiens that we've been expecting all season, which is giving up a lot of chances for sure because their defense isn't very strong. But they've got guys who are fast. They've got guys who are mobile, and they've got some guys that can finish. And all of those things need to be going right. So we were expecting to see fun. I thought this game was fun. I don't know if it was the same from a Sharks perspective, but I thought, it was frustrating in terms of the result, but, seeing those chances or, on the flip side, like watching your team allow those chances. In my case, you could see that there was a lot of end to end. Yes, the Canadiens were hemmed into their zone quite a bit. It's never pretty when they're in their own zone. But they were able to, generate some chances. They were able to break out. They were able to move the puck up the ice. They were able to take shots. I think this is one of the highest shot totals they've had so far. I think this is their 8th game. So there have been, they did do positive things. And as you pointed out, you posted the heat maps on Twitter. They happened to be in the right places to score, which is not always the case with the Habs. So I do think that this is the Canadiens that I expected, where like the defense was always going to be giving us fits, but occasionally the puck was going to go in the net. So they weren't going to be good, but they were going to be fun to watch.
All right, Laura, if I were a betting person and I wanted to maybe bet on Jake Allen to have a really bad game next game, where do you think I could find something like that?
On Bet Online.
So yes, Bet Online is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season and hockey season. With more props, odds, and lines than ever before, Bet Online remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. So head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, World Series, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's compare our rookies. So we've been talking about William Eklund versus Cole Caufield. I know at the top of the show we said it's probably going to be one of the Detroit guys, and Nolan, our friend, is just not going to let us hear the end of it until if one of them wins. But I was really impressed with Eklund tonight, especially because he's the past couple of games he's been kind of seeing less and less ice time, and you wanted to see a little bit more out of the offensive zone from him. But tonight he was just dynamite. Multiple just beautiful passes to set up guys. He had a great just deked the defender out of his jockstrap, and then basically it was Patrick Waugh and Dominic Hasek and Carey Price back there making a save on him but yeah, William Eklund, dude, he's gonna be so good.
Yes. he definitely embarrassed some grown men tonight.
Yes.
He's an exciting player, and I thought that it was very telling that when the Sharks picked him, how excited you were, how excited the Content Boys were. He's definitely got a lot of skill and a lot of potential, but I did want to ask, if you don't mind, I'm sure you covered it the last couple of episodes, but what the hell is up with him not seeing less and less ice time? I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think I mean, he said, like, coming out of, he had his first back-to-back where he played against, Toronto. It was against the Sens, who are a very physical team, and Toronto, who's a very skilled team, but like his first back-to-back. And then so they sat him against against Boston, which is fine if you're, want to let him kind of get a breather, especially with how much ice time or how many games he's played in the preseason. And if you go back to the rookie development camp. So like, I understand that. But the like Nashville, like, Nashville's a heavy team. Like, get out of here with that. Like that's his like calling card, is just how slippery he is. Like, guys try to check him and he just makes them look stupid. So, but it was good to see tonight. He was, let's see, he had 16-18 time on ice tonight, which is right aligned with the other guys like Balsers, and that's more than LeBanc, like right there with like Benito and stuff like that, which is, actually more ice time than Dahlén. And that's even with him getting kind of Cole Caufield trying to take off his wrist there. I saw that, but yeah, that was good to see with him kind of getting that bounce back. And I thought played one of his better games tonight, even though he didn't get on the score sheet, but he had several chances to get on the score sheet.
And he created plays, which is really important when you're talking about a guy who's supposed to be a skill player. That's what you're asking for from him. And I thought, I thought that he played really well. And I saw the last game in person. So when they were playing in Montreal, I saw the last game in person, and I was really lucky that I got seats very close to the ice and got a very, very close up look. And I was
humble
brag
there. God.
It's
Sorry.
really not. It's not. I just, I got to go to a game. And it's really funny because I always find that I analyze games much better when I'm watching from home, but just watching him on the ice there, it's exactly like you said. He's a very slippery guy. He's very quick. You almost don't notice, and he comes out of nowhere if you're not paying attention. And I really love that. And at the same time, Cole Caufield is, by all accounts, people are talking about him underperforming, but there are a lot of factors at play here. First of all, he set himself up with being so good.
Too good, too fast. Yes.
Too good, too fast. Yeah, I mean, he had an amazing year last year. Literally, the only thing he didn't win was the Stanley Cup, right? So he had a really good year last year, and there's a lot of pressure on him and his line. I think the first few games that we saw, he was playing extremely nervously, so the passes weren't connecting. He was overthinking plays. The shots were going wide of the net. And as time has gone on, he's calmed down a little bit. But there's an old school hockey mentality where he's a young player and he wasn't performing well. And so they demoted him to the third line.
That's the worst.
It's so bad because, that's the opposite of what you want, right?
Yeah.
And the worst part is the person that he has the most chemistry with is the first line center. That duo creates amazing chances together, but they made one too many mistakes passing to each other, turned over the puck a little bit, and it just, he got quote unquote demoted. We know in the long run it's going to be a Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki situation. We know that based on how well they play together. I think it's unfair of the coach to demote him. But I also see that, the coach is trying to get something going, obviously, and trying to figure it out. But for me personally, I think that Cole Caufield is in one of those situations where right now, as you watch him, the more he calms down, the more you see elements of his game from last season. And the other thing that you have to remember too is that even in the playoffs, people were not prepared to game plan against him. He was a new player that people didn't take that seriously, even though he's very promising. And now teams are doing that. If you look at other opposing penalty kills, they're all over that guy. And he is very, very mobile. He's very, very quick. I'm sure you notice, like, he can slip out of situations. He's also very, very slippery as well. He's a little guy there, and you see some of his passes and some of his shots. It's such a quick release. It's like his reflexes, his reaction, that release, it's all so quick. And he's one of those guys where I feel like once he scores, you break the ice,
Oh,
it's
they're
going
just
to
gonna
come
all
in
come. Yeah.
bunches.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So I think,
he'll definitely. I think Hill had robbed him tonight of a goal too, and it's just like, yeah, I think same thing with Eklund. Like Eklund's got a few assists, but yeah, once he scores that first one, you're just gonna see them go through. But one last rookie, Jonathan Dahlén, who you got to see totally destroy your team a week ago. So a little bit older rookie, but like, he's been. I think tonight was probably his worst game. He did have a couple good chances too, but yeah, the Couture Meyer Dahlén line, which has usually been really dominant, definitely was not their kind of dominant self. And I thought Dahlén, he had some chances, but it wasn't his best night tonight.
yeah, I would say that too. And that's another thing is that, there's a whole bunch of guys on the Sharks that, before the season, an opposing fan would be like, who is that guy? Like,
Yeah.
But now they're really, I think one of the things with teams that are in a rebuild, I know we're not allowed to say that word in either of our markets.
Yeah,
There's no such
retool
thing.
is the proper wording in San Jose. But yes, the retool.
Retool, yes.
Yes.
I know teams that are in a retool mode right now. If they have the opportunity to play their rookies, to play those young guys, for that talent to gel, you're molding a core for the future. I think that's something that's so exciting. And it's like maybe they might not win a lot of games, which in San Jose doesn't seem to be the case right now. They are winning more games than anybody expected them to, I think.
Yes.
It's just so exciting to see them play together because they're going to grow together. They're going to get better together. And that's another thing. It's like one of the things, if you look at all the teams that do well in the last couple of decades you're watching, they all had the same thing. They had some good draft picks, high draft picks or good draft picks, or people that reached their ceiling when they were being developed, and they all play together. And they all end up, they're relatively cheap, and they play together well enough that you add a couple of talented veterans, you grab somebody on the trade deadline, you're making a Stanley Cup run. And so it's so exciting if you think about what's going to happen in the next couple of years with San Jose, especially if they end up with a relatively high draft pick this year, despite their good results to start. I mean, they've got an opportunity to really create a core where, honestly, if at the beginning of last season you said, what do you expect from San Jose? I'd be like, they're going to be mired in mediocrity for a few more years. Yeah. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore.
Yeah, especially when you have the guys that are going to be coming, like your Bordelos and your Robins and your Ozzy and Gushins and stuff like that. So yeah, the future is bright, but it still sucks to lose 4-0 tonight. So
I agree.
Before we finish this off, though, I don't know about you, but like, especially staying up for these late games, sometimes you need a snack. And Laura, where do you grab a snack when you're hungry for these? It's what, like almost 2 a.m. for you?
It is. Yeah, it's actually 1:45. I get my energy from Built Bar. It's not just when I'm staying up late for games. I have them for breakfast sometimes when I don't have a whole lot of time, or if I need to pick me up in the middle of the day, because Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar.
Laura has done this a million times just like us. So, but yes, and the great thing about Built Bar is they have so many delicious flavors. And what's your favorite, if you don't mind me asking?
My favorite.
Yes.
See, welcome. I wasn't going to make fun of you for the Canadiens winning, but now I'm going to do that. No, my favorite, honestly, is the coconut brownie that seems to be back in circulation. So they always have these limited edition flavors. For those of you who don't know, there's 18 delicious core flavors that you can go and get at any time. And then it seems like every week, right? They come up with a great new flavor. And yes. Right now, there's blueberry muffin and there's the coconut brownie, which is my all-time favorite.
Yes.
But then in the regular rotation, the salted caramel. And not only that, they've got all kinds of stuff. They've got Built Boost, which is kind of like, it's a vitamin-laden drink that gives you energy too. Everything is just, it's low in sugar, high in protein. It gives you what you need, and they're all delicious.
Oh, the favorite is a Locked On Sharks. Yeah, that's one of our running jokes is the favorite. But yes, you can go on and get your favorite. Or if you haven't picked a favorite yet, you can go get a mix box. We'll send you 2 of each of the flavors. Make sure you go over to built.com and use the promo code locked15 to get 15% off your order. Again, that's the promo code locked15 at built.com. All right, Laura, before we end this, what was your kind of big takeaway going forward with your Canadiens after tonight's 4-0 win?
I think the Canadians, having seen Jake Allen play that way, will play with a little bit more confidence. One of the things that we have been very critical of them for has been that they play too safe. They play not to lose. And that has not served them well in any of the last 10, 20 years or whenever they've been playing like this. It's not a good strategy for any hockey team, but it's particularly not good and not a good strategy for a team where, if you look at where their strengths are, it's Carey Price and the top nine. And so how are you going to take advantage of that top nine if you're playing safe, if you're trying to trap, right? These are fast players. These are offensively skilled players in a lot of cases, or good playmakers, either or. So I think that one of the things that I was hoping for was a little bit more aggression from them. And that's that we haven't seen that except against Detroit this season. So having seen the fact that Jake Allen has the potential to keep them in every game like they saw tonight, hopefully will make them play a little bit more aggressively, creatively. I want to see a lot of forechecking. I want to see a lot of exiting the zone. I want to see a lot of zone entries. I want to see creativity. I want to see a lot of motion. And so those are things that the Canadians have been lacking. And people have been talking about how it's a lack of effort. It's not a lack of effort. It's a lack of trying the right thing. So that's what my takeaway is that even though the Sharks were the better team in the underlying numbers, they were the better team in terms of chances and all of that, the Canadians they were able to score goals. So that confidence with Jake Allen playing well, I want them to turn it into the way that they play in front of Carey Price. And I want them to be the team that we thought they would be, which is not a world-beating team by any means, but high scoring, high event, back and forth, end-to-end hockey. Yes, they're going to allow 6 goals maybe, but maybe they win the game by scoring 7, right?
Yes.
You want that potential every night. It's okay if they're bad as long as they're fun, I think. And I guess, what's your takeaway from the Sharks for this game?
Yeah, I think even though losing 4-0, I still think there was some positives to take out of it. The power play, even they've gone on a bit of a cold stretch, but you see the signs of a good power play there. So just keep doing what you're doing. William Eklund is seriously going to break through at some point here and just light up the lamp here. So just keep playing Eklund, keep doing what you're doing there. Like, you're not going to face Jake Allen, stopping 45 shots every night. So, and especially here on the Sharks, this is the first game of a 5-game homestand. So they play the Jets on Saturday, then they have Buffalo, St. Louis, and New Jersey. And like, other than St. Louis, like, all those teams are really, really beatable. And if you get, even against St. Louis, if you get Jordan Binnington to throw a fit like he is prone to do from time to time, I think the Sharks should be in all those games. So yeah, I know people are already like, they should be bad. They should start tanking for Shane Wright. Like, just, it's game 7 tonight. Like, it's fine. They outplayed the Canadiens for a large chunk of the game, and they just, went up against the hot goalie who was not going to lose tonight. So
yeah, and I think that that's the balance, right? We just talked about how the young players, you want them to get the experience and you want them to play well, but at the same time you want a high draft pick. So
yes.
It's going to even out. It will even out for both of these teams.
Yeah. So it's but that's the end of. We won't see you guys again until next year now, because unless they both make the Stanley Cup, which would be a lot of things would have to go wrong in this world for the Sharks and Canadiens to make the Cup this year. So Laura, thank you for your time. Where can the people find you? And what are you doing right now? So yeah.
Well, if you want to find Locked On Canadiens, where Kyle Demetrius has been featured numerous times.
Yes, and I have not. I've taken note of that. So,
you are welcome at any time. The difference with Kyle is that he's a secret Habs fan.
Yes.
And so it's basically like having a Habs guest. And so you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're Locked On Canadiens. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at LO_Canadiens. If you want to find me, I am at The Active Stick. And my co-host, Scott Matla, does all the gifts. So if you want to follow him and get the good gifts, please do so. But please do not get mad at him for what is happening in the GIF. He did not make it happen. He just captured it.
I think he edits it. This is also between our Twitter handles. This has to be the most sexual Twitter handles on the Locked On Network between my fry hole and the active stick. So
yes, this is true.
They're gonna block us. We're not gonna be allowed to do this anymore. So, so yeah, thanks again, Laura, for joining us. You can find us on Twitter at Locked On Sharks. You can also find us on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks as well, where I am putting up all of our stuff there. And Kyle is off doing Kyle things. He secretly a Canucks fan tonight, so he went to go to a Canucks game. So actually, he just wanted to scout Martin Jones on the Flyers, but yes. So
you missed Martin Jones.
He missed Martin Jones so much he had to go see him in person, but good for him. Good for him. So, and then you can find me on Twitter at my fry hole. Kyle is at Kyle Demetrius. We will be back on Monday with a breakdown of whatever happens in the chaos that is the Sharks Jets game. More finger snapping, I assume. And again, Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Thank you for making us your first listen. Go listen to go listen to the Habs, Locked On Habs. They do a good job.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.